This is the part that I had some worry about here. Also, I'm wondering how to cope with and make meaning from powerful out-of-body experiences and visions that arise on the meditation and spiritual path. Context, it says, my mentor alluded to these visions as glimpses of God, and that following them or submitting to them is important. That's really dangerous. That's really, really dangerous. That's really not a good idea. Sometimes I just feel like, well, I may not know the context and all that, but that sentence in and of itself is a scary sentence to read. If that's the way it was stated, so I'll just have to assume that it is. But I mean, if you do, meditative practice and stuff with some people, it's not unusual entirely to have various out-of-body experiences. For some people, it's rather common for them to have visionary experiences. There are I think of them as two broad sort of spiritual personality types, you might say. There's sort of the mystical type and the contemplative. The mystical type does have more out-of-body kind of experiences, visions, stuff like that, more spiritual fireworks, I guess you could say. The contemplatives have much less of that. Their revelations come to them not through usually the intermediary of visionary experiences and the like. They're just different. I won't go on because I don't have enough time to really lay out the difference between those two types. But you are just the way you are. You can't really choose which one you have. But I do think it's somewhat dangerous to just conclude that out-of-body experiences and visions are glimpses of God, because more often than not, they have little or anything to do with God. And following them or submitting to them, which is even more troubling, to think that that's necessary, important, or even a good idea is pretty, pretty dangerous. Because the reason is because, and this isn't anything new to me, most, maybe not all, but the vast majority of contemplative traditions, especially in the mature, deeply developed dimension of those, even some of the contemplative traditions that'll use visionary things. You have various forms of Tibetan Buddhism that will purposely use visionary things and visualizing certain Tibetan deities and the such, and certain Hindu kinds will do the similar things. But even in those traditions, there's also number one, they're very closely guided, but there's not this association like your vision is sort of have some objective reality that it is God. That is it, and most contemplative traditions that I've known about, and I know about quite a few of them, and I know quite a few of them in depth, that the more common encouragement is like, yeah, these things happen. You can have lots of wild experiences, lots of spiritual fireworks, some of which can be revelatory, some of which can have important information, some of which can be very transforming, but it's fairly universal. Like, don't make too much out of them. Let them come and go. Don't imbue them with any kind of final reality to them, because really what you're doing is when you go into these deep dimensions, you're bumping into these visions and stuff are really a product for the most part of going into the collective unconscious. And the collective unconscious is an extremely unpredictable domain of experience. And, gods can turn into devils in the snap of a finger and vice versa. And, if you're submitting yourself, if you're giving yourself to some of these visionary qualities, well, you could be giving, you don't know what you're giving yourself to. It can look wonderful. And then all of a sudden, you realize it's anything but wonderful. Like I said, it's a very, very big, very, very deep subject that I don't have time to go in with any great depth. But I can say certainly from my point of view, and I think the overwhelming agreement, not entire agreement, obviously, but overwhelming agreement is that, when you have these, sure, you have them, you let them come, you let them go, they can have positive effects, all of that, but don't take them certainly as objectively real. Don't submit yourself to them. Don't just give yourself over to them because, we can become, well, it's where the old-fashioned words like possession come in. You can be possessed by psychic content from the collective unconscious, and it's no plaything. I've met people that have been possessed by psychic content in the collective unconscious, and it's nothing to play around with. I don't want to scare too many people this time of night, but one should be hesitant, at the very least, to do so. So for some people, these phenomena come up, but the truth of your being, the truth of my being, the truth of our being, the fundamental nature reality is something deeper than all that. It's deeper than the images. It's deeper than the out-of-body experiences, as amazing as they can be. It's something that's prior to images. It's even prior to energy. It's